Hey, good afternoon. It's Saturday, April 2nd. Thanks so much for being here. Here in Midlands of South Carolina, new dwelling place, really happy to be here. Love the windmill in the background and be outside. You'll hear some road noise, not that far from the road, but Lord willing, you'll be able to hear what we're working through here. Again, thanks so much for being here. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your encouragement. I'm going to continue working through what it means to have meaning and purpose in life the way that God designed it. We've kind of worked our way through in terms of the way God designed people, the way God is designing families, and the particular purpose of women and how they function and how we're supposed to value them. And then we're beginning to look at men, because men have this responsibility to guard and protect, to help flourish, nourish what God has brought about, both for the families, for themselves, and for the women involved. So the title today of the video is Couples or Marriage. Again, it may sound like not that big a deal, but it's a huge deal. Couples or marriage. We're going to get to single people, because single folks, not like me, have a particular purpose in life as well. But our meaning as people is only enhanced by a right view of marriage and a right view of doing with God's design, understanding that. So I'm not ignoring singles, we're going to get there. But I continue this idea of how men can do what God has called them to do and help bring about His honor, God's honor, by encouraging people to live in such a way that actually is in line with the way God made us. So you remember, we looked in Genesis 1, this job description. God blessed men and women, them made in His own image, both men and women, co-equal image bearers. And He says to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth, subdue it, and rule over it. The fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every living creature that moves on the ground. They do this together. Not the man leading the way, but they do this together. Man has the responsibility of taking initiative and leading that way, but not to diminish the woman. Now we get over towards the end of Genesis 2. We began at the beginning of Genesis 2. At the end, there's no suitable helper found for Adam. This is by God's design, so we can see this. The creation is perfect, except for one thing. It was not good. There was no woman. And again, her purpose is not to make Adam better, although she does. Her purpose is to allow the creation to function the way that God wants it to. That's the beauty of what's here. The addition of the woman is to make it clear to Adam and to all men and all people since then that it's the two working together to bring honor to God. It's not about the woman helping man do God's job. It's about the woman and the man together doing what God's called them to do. So, after He creates Eve, God creates Eve, Adam is thrilled. He acknowledges that she was taken from him, so she's part of him. And then for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother, be united to his wife, or cleave unto his wife, maybe we're familiar with that language, and they will become one flesh. They form a new family unit. And it's at the man's initiative. The man leaves, takes his wife to himself, they unite and become a new family unit. Now, why am I destroying the distinction between couples and marriage? Wasn't that what married people do, couple together? No, not at all. Because couples, as we indicated yesterday, have no responsibility. They just have a responsibility to be a couple, to continue liking each other, to do like the things that they do. But there's not any more greater purpose than that. But in God's economy, in His plan, it's the husband and wife together that fulfill this creation mandate. So when you're in the stage of thinking about being something with someone and in a relationship, is the purpose to make your couple's life better, or to be in line with what God wants you to do. See, we've been made to think that marriage is just an add-on. It's left over from the old days. We don't need it anymore. We can have relationships any way we want to. Well, without spending the next 45 million hours showing how that hasn't worked out, the bottom line is, it hasn't worked out. Our reinvention of relationships into couples has failed miserably. People live for the moment, and the future is messed up. Our kids are lost. People are lost. But if couples see that God is calling them towards marriage, then they get to start discussing things together that have to do with permanence. What's it going to be like to raise children together? What's it going to be like to spend money together? What's it going to be like to invest our lives together? What are the gifts that each of us have that are unique to us? And then how do we come together and make that a beautiful, special thing that's not anywhere else? Those are the kinds of discussions that couples need to be having, instead of what are the things that we like to do as a couple. And granted, they can be super cool and enjoyable, but you can't build a life on that. As I said, we've got a generation trying, and it's imploding. Our relationships are falling apart, not growing stronger. But if we align ourselves with what God's called us to, discuss those topics, what's going to be the basics of a good family? What are the character qualities that this person I'm considering spending time with, how does that enhance a relationship where we spend money wisely, where we invest wisely, where we can invest our time with children? And then, as we've looked at earlier, we see in Psalm 78, how are we investing ourselves in such a way so that our children's children are strong and stable, instead of being tossed about the way our culture is tossing them about? Couples or marriage? We've got to stop the conversation about being what couples want to do, to enjoy the moment or to enjoy the next year, and start the conversation where how do we invest in each other to build a legacy which is going to exceed us. And our children's children are walking in the ways of God. We're investing in things eternal. Our money is spent wisely. Our investments of time are spent wisely. Women are nourished instead of used and manipulated and objectified. And men take on that noble cause of initiating and caring and protecting and honoring. No one is devalued in that frame. There is huge hope. That's our hope. Couples or marriage. Let's stop living for the moment and invest in what's to come, because that's where fulfillment is. That's where hope is. That's where our true destiny lies. That's where our encouragement is. Let's invest in things that align with the eternal purpose that God has made us for. And that's the thought for this day. And next week we'll be looking at a little more about this. We're talking about singles, how they have more worth in this framework than anything else, and then how we continue having a purpose that is eternal, that is in line with what God has called us to be. Living for the things that are truly unseen, that have true worth. Thanks so much for being here. Lord willing, we'll see you Monday morning. I hope you enjoy the windmill. I love it. And we'll see you soon. Thanks so much for checking in. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.